What's going on out there, fish fam? Reyes here with the Dirty Hookers, and today I'm doing another tackle bag breakdown. I'm going to be showing you everything that I took with me on my Tony Reyes trip to fish the Sea of Cortez. Let's go ahead and get started, jump right into this video. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to be clear that this tackle bag breakdown is actually after I had already come back from the trip. And the reason why I want to do that is to be able to get a little bit more in depth about things, about what we were using and why. We were actually out there in November of 2022. It is now February of 2023, and I just dropped the teaser last week. First episode will actually be today. So if you're watching this before the first episode, go ahead and go watch that. And the reason why I'm doing this now, PCS show starts today, I think, but it goes on until Sunday, and there's going to be a lot of great deals at all these different booths, and it's a great opportunity to load up on stuff. And if you're not able to get to the PCS show, Fred Hall is just around the corner as well, so this is a good time to be able to upload this tackle bag breakdown so that you guys can go out and prepare for this. If you are going to be at the PCS show, I will be at the Real Happy booth this Saturday and Sunday. These are some of the shirts that they make, so if you want to come meet me in person, see what kind of swag they got, or just talk fishing in general, I'll be at the Real Happy booth. Stop by, say what's up. With all that being said, let's go ahead, hop into this video, show you all what I used, what produced the most fish, and why. We're going to start with getting some of the easy kind of miscellaneous stuff out of the way, and that's going to start off with Sabiki rigs. As far as Sabiki rigs go, you're going to want something that can handle some slightly stronger fish. For instance, these are 25-pound rated, and this one's 30-pound rated mainline to 20-pound rated leaders for the hooks. And the reason why you're fishing Sabiki rigs with 20 to 30-pound line, a lot of the bait out there could be anything from big mackerel to even possible smaller yellowtail. And if you get a Sabiki rig strung up with 2 to 4 yellowtail, that'll snap instantly unless you have proper tackle, which is going to be that 25 to 30-pound line. And you're going to be making bait every single night. Whether you use it or not, I definitely recommend bringing Sabiki rigs and helping load up bait for the next day and for the rest of the trip. And we had anything from yellowtail, mackerel, yellowtail, some spotties, fringe head way in the corner, and what they call perch. I don't know what those actually are. It's what they call perch, which looked like something in the croaker family, and what they call a Mexican lingcod, which is actually their version of a sarcastic fringe head. The bait out there is basically anything that you can catch that stays alive well in the bait well. Making bait can actually be a lot of fun because you don't know what you're going to pull up. And if you don't use it while you're out fishing Cabrilla and yellowtail, you're going to use it for grouper fishing. Whatever that day might be. For us, it was the last day. For you, it might be something different depending on how the weather looks. So if you're going to use the bait, do your part and help load up in the bait tank as well. For the Sabiki rigs, you're going to want anything from 4 ounce to 6 ounce, even 8 ounce if the yellowtail are around. But for the most part, mackerel and sardines, 4 to 6 ounce should be okay. I was personally using a 6 ounce almost the whole time. It's going to help keep that Sabiki rig nice and straight when you have multiple mackerel, yellowtail, or even sardines on your line at the same time. Instead of getting all tangled up, that heavier weight will keep it nice and straight. And while we're on the subject of leads, you're also going to want some 16 ounces and a couple 24 ounces as well. And these are going to be for grouper fishing. We were using 16 ounces for the entire time that we were grouper fishing. However, if you're using bigger bait or the current's ripping, you're gonna want at least a couple 24 ounces just in case that happens. We're using anything from full-size mackerel to 2 to 3 pound yellowtail, even 4 pound yellowtail. So you're gonna use really big baits and you're gonna need some really big leads. I recommend bringing about 4 to 5 16s and at least 2 to 3 24 ounces. Again, you may not even need the 24 ounces, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Next, I want to talk about hooks. The most important thing that I recommend you bring for Cabrilla fishing is to bring replacement treble hooks. I just bought this 25 pack of 1/0 treble hooks. It's going to be a reaction bite, so as long as it's strong enough to hold up and not get straightened out when you hook one of these heavier fish, you'll be okay. And instead of buying 4 to 5 to 6 packs of hooks, I went ahead and just bought 1 pack that held 25 treble hooks. So the replacement hooks that I went with was the 1/0 Mustad 3 extra strong treble hooks. And you're also gonna want some replacement split rings. Anything from 80 pound to 100 pound split rings should be okay. Anything bigger, it's kind of too bulky in my personal opinion. I still want it to fit the jerk baits that we're using as best as possible. This is a number 7. There's also size 6s that will work pretty well, and size 8 will work pretty well. Anything bigger than 8 just seems a little bit too big for the baits that we're using, but this one's rated 80 pound, and these are Owner Hyper Wire split rings. Now, as far as hooks go, you're gonna want 2 different size frame of hooks. First being 3 to 5/0 hooks for live bait. If the Cabrilla aren't biting, a lot of time they do troll for them. I personally didn't do any live bait fishing until we were fishing grouper. I really like doing artificial fishing and casting a million times in a row. But if it's slow, your morale's getting a little low, it doesn't hurt to troll. You're gonna trigger a couple bigger bites. Now, I personally don't have any of these hooks left because we lost all of them. So I don't have any hooks to verify whether it was 12/0 or 14/0 hooks. I want to say it was 12/0, but you're going to want some of these bigger hooks for using sizable yellowtail, barracuda, bonita, and just to be able to get that hook shank buried. But you are going to want some of these bigger hooks for the grouper fishing. The most important line size that I highly recommend you bring, because you will be doing Cabrilla fishing for majority of the trip, is going to be 80 pound fluorocarbon. If you guys want to save a few bucks on some fluorocarbon, use code DIRTYHOOKERS for 15% off of your total purchase and get yourself some Opsin fluorocarbon. Really helps support the channel. I've been using this for about 3 years now. It's what I've fully converted over. They make anything from 6 pound to 130 pound tests, so you can catch anything from trout to bluefin tuna, giant bluefin tuna, and anything in between. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. So if you want to help support the channel, use code DIRTYHOOKERS for 15% off your total purchase and also save yourself a few bucks. This stuff did absolutely great for the trip. Myself and my buddy Joe was using Opsin 80 pound for the whole trip for fishing Cabrilla, and even with 80 pound, you will get rocked. Even by a 4 pound Cabrilla, it's possible. They're very, very strong fish. 80 pound to 100 pound leader is what everyone on the boat was using for Cabrilla fishing. We went through almost 2 full spools of 80 pound between myself and my partner, so about 1 spool each. This is all that's left on the second spool that we used up, maybe about another 5 yards left. I personally like having almost a rod's length of leader, 6 to 8 foot of leader, just in case the Cabrilla get down into those rocks. At least I still have something that's going to be a little bit protective to be able to pull them out instead of braid touching the rock, which would be an instant snap. If we got into some yellowtail fishing and we slow trolled for yellowtail or whatever it might be, I brought 50 pound because it would be a good bait line size. Unfortunately, we didn't get into like really prime yellowtail fishing on our trip just because the weather was too snotty for us to get to those yellowtail grounds. So I didn't get to use 50 pound, but I still had it just in case. And besides those 50 to 80 pound for the lighter sizes, so weird saying 80 pound for a lighter size, you're gonna want anything from 100 pound to 200 pound. I have up to 130 pound. I don't have 200 pound line, but you're gonna want 100 pound to 200 pound for the grouper fishing. I was using 130 pound for grouper fishing and I snapped off twice like nothing. My buddy Joe was using 100 pound and he broke off twice as well. When you guys start grouper fishing, there's no nibble or a big thump to give you a warning to prepare for that bite. They're coming out of that rock, grabbing your fish and going straight back down to that rock as fast as they can. So you go from nice and calm and cool and collective to just rod tip in the water within the blink of an eye. All you can do is pray to get bit and hopefully you can beat that fish. But out of everyone fishing anything from 100 to 200 pound, even 250 pound, there was only one person that landed a grouper and it ended up being a 50 pound broomtail grouper. Let's start with Cabrilla because I know that's what everybody doing the Tony Reyes trip or going to the Sea of Cortez, I know that's what everyone hopes and prays for. And when I say Cabrilla, it is a leopard grouper. So they are a grouper. And as much as everyone says that they are a calico on steroids, they still will fight like a grouper. And it'll put a calico to shame, seriously. The number one lure that I can recommend to you for Cabrilla fishing is going to be a size 170 Yozuri Hydro Minnow. I was using the floating ones for the entire trip. I think maybe 1 or 2 people used the suspended, but I used the floating ones for the whole trip. It'll say down here on the package below. From what we noticed, bright colors got most of the bites. For myself and my buddy Joe that was on my boat with me, we were getting bit the best on this wacky macky Hydro Minnow. From what I noticed, I think that the pink really did the trick for us because we were getting bit on anything else that had pinks and blues with it. So I think the pink really helped in the fact that it had a little bit of a green and blue back to it. It's kind of like an all-around good mixture to trigger those extra bites. Now that was for our boat. Every boat kind of dialed in on a different color. Another boat was getting bit on like the chartreuse and orange. One boat was getting bit on purples, and another boat was getting on like straight orange. So from what it seems like, as long as you had some brighter colored baits, you had a really good shot at getting bit. The action in these is a very tight wobble with a little bit of roll, and SP minnows and Cold Sniper jerkbaits unfortunately have either too wide of a kick or too much roll. So because of that, the Yo-Zuri hydro minnows were definitely superior over the other two when it came to fishing Cabrilla. Now, I'm not saying that you won't get bit on SP minnows and Cold Sniper jerkbaits. Fishing yellowtail and fishing tuna, I would definitely go Cold Sniper jerkbait all day. But for Cabrilla, the hydro minnow was definitely superior. You do want to bring a handful of 150s, just in case, for whatever reason, they're only eating that smaller bait and they won't eat the full-size 170. But with that being said, I highly recommend bringing more 170 sizes than anything else. If you can see right here, there's a lot more bites on the 170 than the 150, and that's only a 3/4 inch difference. And even though it's only 3/4 of an inch, it makes a huge difference. Even when they're schooled up eating these micro baits, they still only want the 170. And if you find a color that you really like, get multiple of them, because if you hook a double, my hook hanger was pulled out, twisted, and straightened on both sides. And this was the only one that I had in this color, so I went ahead and twisted it back up and shoved it back in there to where it was still fishable. And within 3 fish, this hook point right here fully straightened out. Moving on to surface irons now. Now, as far as surface irons goes, over the last 2 seasons, my go-to surface iron for yellowtail fishing has been the JRI Stinger. And then 2 of my other jigs that's kind of tried and true for me that has produced more fish than anything else has been a Tatty 45, and recently over the last year or 2, the Tatty Starman 112. Unfortunately, when it came to Cabrilla fishing, they really wanted something with a super tight wobble that kind of swam more straight instead of more of an S pattern. Surface iron that definitely produced more than anybody else on the mothership went to my buddy Joe fishing a steel bait. His was Katy Perry color. That goes back to what I was saying about bright colors. Pinks and blues were pretty much producing most of the bites for us on our boat. And he had a Katy Perry still bait. It was like sky blue on one side, white in the middle, and pink down the back. Classic Katy Perry color. And he was catching up to 20 Cabrilla a day on his surface iron. It was brand new on the start of the trip. Not ever a single bite on it. And by the end of the trip, there was hardly any paint left. Steel baits, you guys know I've been a huge supporter of him for a really long time. Randy's a great friend of mine, and I highly recommend picking up a couple steel baits. But the one that was getting the most bites for Joe was the 6.5 inch OG steel baits surface iron. Surface irons for Cabrilla, I will say, kind of threw me for a curve. I was going out there with all my best swimming jigs, everything that I've liked over the years, and unfortunately throw all those to the side because they want a really tight swimming fast jig. So unfortunately, I didn't trigger those bites because I didn't have something bright colored that was also a fast swimming jig. But that's going to be what you want to stick with if you want to catch Cabrilla on the surface iron. Next, I want to talk about heavy jigs. Anything from smaller size yo-yos to full size heavier yo-yos to even butterfly jigs, and everyone loves a good old Colt Sniper. The Colt Sniper will catch damn near everything, and if you want to catch a bunch of triggerfish, if you've never caught triggerfish, the Colt Sniper is definitely the go-to lure to catch some triggerfish. If you guys get in a good triggerfish spot, this will smack them really good. The Colt Sniper will also catch Cabrilla. If you're in some deeper water and you want to sling a little bait fish size thing on the bottom, you'll catch some Cabrilla, you'll catch bottom fish. Colt Sniper is definitely a good one to have in the box. Along with the flat fall, butterfly jigs, flat falls. If you're really good at slow pitch fishing, or you want to fish for pargos on the reef, whether it's red snapper, barred snapper, or any other kind of snapper that they're catching out there, this will catch them pretty good. I think Mark was using either a butterfly jig or a flat fall for most of the trip, and he was doing pretty well on the slow pitch stuff, speed jigging stuff as well. And then when it comes for yellowtail fishing, you're gonna want some heavier full-size yo-yos. If they're not up splashing around, you can always yo-yo and speed wind for them, and you'll get bit like that as well. My all-time favorite yo-yos when it comes to yellowtail fishing is gonna be either a full-size Tatty 4.0, or I I've really grown to like the steel bait yo-yo as well. He also made a stubby version. Unfortunately, I lost that on my Cedros trip last year, and I really like that one a lot, but this one gets bit just as well. Now, that's gonna cover everything that I recommend as kind of like a must-have bring for like not only a Tony Reyes trip, but also for a Sea of Cortez trip. If you guys are doing multiple different things, if you're just driving into Baja and fishing the Sea of Cortez for a couple different days on a ponga with a pongera, this is kind of everything that I recommend you bring. I think I covered everything. I think that's going to be it for this video. I hope you gained a little bit of knowledge from this video. Again, I wanted to do this after I came back from the trip just because I had a little bit more of a grasp on things. For those of you who have been doing Cabrilla fishing or fishing Sea of Cortez, Baja in general, and you have more things that you want to touch base on, please leave it in the comments below so that other people can learn from it as well, as this was my first time there, so I'm still very, very new to it. But if you have some knowledge that you want to touch base on that I didn't touch base on, please leave it in the comments down below, because I'm sure a lot of people really want to learn about this that I wasn't able to capitalize on. If you guys are at the PCS show this weekend, I'll be at the Real Happy booth. You should also stop at Opson and Phoenix. Those are all my sponsors, big supporters of the channel. But if you want to meet me in person, I will be at the Real Happy booth, so stop on by and say what's up. I guess that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure to tune in for the rest of the series of the Sea of Cortez Tony Reyes trip. It's going to be a really, really exciting one. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time.